You set a goal, you feel the energy of it. You tell yourself, this time is different, and for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, it is. And then something happens. Not a dramatic failure, not a single moment where everything falls apart. Just a slow return to exactly where you were before. The same patterns, the same habits, the same version of the day that produces the same version of the life. And you're left with a question that feels almost too uncomfortable to ask honestly. Why does this keep happening? Not once, not twice, but every time. And the answer, the real one, not the one that blames circumstances or bad luck or the difficulty of change, is smaller than you think. It is happening in the first 5 minutes after you open your eyes, before you have made a single conscious decision, before you've spoken a single word, before the day has made any of its demands. Something is already being decided. Not about what you will do today, about who you are. And most people are making that decision by default, without realizing it is being made at all, in favor of the version of themselves they are trying to leave behind. James Allen wrote that the outer conditions of a person's life will always reflect their inner beliefs. And what he understood was that those beliefs are not fixed. They are reinforced or weakened every single day by the small habitual choices that feel too insignificant to matter. The most significant of those choices is the first one, the one that happens before the world gets a chance to weigh in. What you do in the morning. And by the time this video is over, you're going to understand exactly why that matters and exactly what to do about it starting tomorrow. Let me tell you something about how I used to start my days. Not as a story designed to impress you with how far I have come, but because I think you will recognize something in it. I used to wake up and immediately reach for the phone. Not because I needed to, not because there was anything urgent waiting, but because the pull of it was automatic, a habit so deeply ingrained that it did not feel like a choice. It felt like just what you do when you wake up. Within 30 seconds of opening my eyes, I was already inside someone else's world. Their opinions, their news, their problems, their content, their version of what was happening and what mattered. And I had not yet had a single thought of my own. The day had not started, and I had already given away the clearest, most open, most impressionable moments of it to everything except myself. And then I would spend the rest of the day wondering why I felt scattered, why I could not focus, why the things that mattered to me kept getting pushed to the edges of my time and attention. The reason was not complicated. I had never established what mattered before the world established what was urgent. I had started every day in reaction rather than direction. And a day that begins in reaction almost never ends in progress. James Allen wrote that the body is the servant of the mind. And what I did not understand then was that the mind itself is the servant of its habits. And that habits are built or broken in exactly those first quiet minutes when the whole day is still formless and waiting to take whatever shape you give it. The shape I was giving it was chaos. And the day faithfully reflected that back to me every single time. Now let's talk about something that most people have never thought about in these terms. The moment your alarm goes off, you make a decision. And that decision is not about whether to get up. It is about whether you can trust yourself. Think about what happens when you hit snooze. On the surface, it seems like a small thing. 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, a harmless concession to the body's desire for comfort. But underneath that small thing, a message is being sent to your own mind in language your mind understands perfectly. You are saying, when I decide to do something and it becomes uncomfortable, I back down. And your mind, which is listening to everything, which is recording everything, which is building its understanding of who you are from exactly these small, consistent signals, receives that message and files it. Not dramatically, not with any fanfare, just quietly adds it to the accumulating evidence about what kind of person you are and what you do when things require effort. Now, think about the opposite. The alarm goes off and you get up. Not because it is easy, not because you feel rested and ready and enthusiastic about the day ahead, but because you said you would. That simple act, repeated morning after morning, sends a completely different message. You are saying, I make decisions and I keep them, even when keeping them is uncomfortable, even when nobody is watching, even when the only consequence of breaking them would be known to me alone. James Allen wrote that a man becomes what he repeatedly does, and the most repeated thing in any human life is the morning routine. It happens every single day, without exception, for as long as you live, which means it is the most consistent opportunity you have to either reinforce the identity of someone who can trust themselves or the identity of someone who cannot. There was a man named Edward. He had been trying to build a morning routine for 2 years. Every few months, he would start again with genuine commitment, wake up early, feel good about it for a week, and then one difficult morning would come, a night of bad sleep, a stressful day ahead, a body that did not want to cooperate, and he would hit snooze. Just once, just that day. But that one time always became 2, and 2 always became a week, and the week always became the end of the routine. Not because of the sleep he was getting, because of the message he was sending. Every time he broke the commitment, even for reasons that seemed entirely reasonable, he was adding to the evidence his mind was collecting about who he was. And the evidence was saying, this is not really someone who does this. One day, Edward changed something small. He stopped negotiating with the alarm. Not because he stopped feeling tired, he still felt tired, but because he decided that the decision had already been made the night before and was not available for renegotiation in the morning. The alarm was not a question. It was a signal. And within 2 weeks of treating it that way, something in him shifted. Not his energy levels, not his schedule, not anything external. His relationship with his own word. He had started to become someone who kept commitments, and that identity, built in the most ordinary and invisible of moments, started showing up everywhere else in his life. James Allen wrote that he who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. And what Edward discovered was that the sacrifice that changed everything was not the big dramatic one. It was the small daily one, made in the dark before anyone was watching, when the comfortable choice was right there and he chose the other one anyway. Now let's talk about what the most successful people actually do with their mornings. Not the mythologized version, not the 5 a.m. cold shower and 2-hour meditation, but the actual principle underneath all of those practices that makes them work. They establish direction before distraction. That is it. That is the whole thing. Before the world tells them what is urgent, they decide what is important. Before someone else's agenda fills their attention, they clarify their own. Before the noise begins, they create enough silence to hear themselves think. And from that clarity, everything else in the day flows differently. The decisions they make are better, not because they're smarter in the morning, but because they are clearer. The work they do is more focused, not because they have more time, but because they know what the time is for. The challenges they face are handled better, not because the challenges are smaller, but because they meet them from a more grounded place. James Allen wrote that the man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. And what the disciplined morning creates is a daily practice of that, a daily refusal to take the easy path when the important path is available. The easy path in the morning is the phone, the news, the scroll, the passive consumption of everything everyone else is putting into the world. The important path is the few minutes of quiet where you decide what you are building and why, and what you're going to do about it today. That path does not require an hour. It does not require special equipment or a perfect environment or any particular level of willpower. It requires 3 things. First, before anything else, before the phone, before coffee, before a single word spoken to anyone, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Not to meditate in any formal sense, not to achieve any particular state, just to let the mind settle before you fill it with the day's demands. To arrive in your own morning before the morning's demands arrive in you. In that silence, ask yourself one question. Who do I want to be today? Not what do I need to accomplish? Who do I want to be? Patient, focused, disciplined, present, whatever quality matters most to the version of yourself you're building. Name it and hold it. Second, write down 3 things. One action that moves you toward what matters most. One attitude you are committed to maintaining regardless of what the day brings. One thought you're not going to give space to today. The recurring doubt, the familiar excuse, the story that keeps pulling you back to the person you're trying to leave behind. Writing these things does something that thinking them does not. It makes them real. It turns the invisible into the visible, the vague into the specific, the intention into a commitment that exists outside of your own head where it can be seen and honored. Third, do not open your phone for at least 30 minutes. This is the one that most people resist most strongly, and it is the one that matters most. Because everything that comes through that phone is someone else's agenda. And the first 30 minutes of your day are too valuable to spend inside someone else's agenda. They belong to you. Use them to establish who you are before the world tries to tell you. James Allen wrote that the body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and the morning is when that impressionability is at its highest. Whatever you put in first goes deepest, so be deliberate about what that is. Let me leave you with the distinction that I think matters most from everything we have talked about today. Being busy is not the same as moving forward. Most people end their days exhausted, genuinely exhausted, having worked hard, having done many things, having been occupied from morning until night. And yet somehow, despite all of that effort, they're not meaningfully closer to what they actually want. Not because they did not work, because they worked without clarity. They were responding to what was in front of them rather than building toward what mattered. And the clarity that would have changed that, the 30 minutes in the morning before the world came in and filled every available space with its demands, was the thing they gave away first. James Allen wrote that the vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by. And what the morning practice creates is a daily moment of enthronement, a daily choice to place the vision at the center before everything else pushes it to the edges. Your life does not change when a great opportunity arrives. It changes when you stop wasting the small ones. And the smallest, most consistent, most powerful opportunity you have is the one that comes every single morning before anyone else is awake, before the world makes its demands, in the quiet before everything begins. That quiet is yours. It belongs to you completely. And what you do with it every day in the invisible, unremarkable, ordinary minutes before the rest of the world starts is what you are building your life out of. One morning at a time, starting tomorrow. If this video moves something in you, if something you heard today made you stop and think, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this and subscribe to the channel. There is so much more to explore together. See you in the next one.